Hey everybody, it's Party Elite here with another episode of Total Breakdown. I've had this one set aside for a while now, and I'm glad I finally have the chance to showcase this insane battle between the Greenskins of the Gobbo King and the Wood Elves of BIA Sotar, a name I'm definitely mispronouncing. I do apologize. We begin, of course, with talk of composition and deployment, and it's evident immediately that this battle is going to be absolute madness. Let's take a look at the Greenskins. First, we have a Night Goblin War Boss in charge on foot alongside a Night Goblin Shaman on foot as well, while the Goblin Big Boss is atop a Spider Mount. The front line, if we can call it that even, consists of the 8 Peak Loonies as well as the Warlord's Boys, and right behind them we have the Night Goblin Archers and the Rusty Errors. All of these guys able to stalk, so they are completely hidden. To the left here, the Forest Goblin Spider Riders drawing some early aggro, as they are up front, and these guys are probably at fire at will, so they're going to pull back into safety, while to the right over here you can see we've got this unit of Mogreb's Mangy Marauders, we have the Death Creepers, and in front of them we have the Teeth Robbers, while back here we've got 3 units of Goblin Wolf Chariots. All of these guys shielded by this unit of Moon Howlers. The Goblin Wolf Riders will try and protect these guys by screening any entry points. Back here, meanwhile, we have the Doomdiver Catapult already firing away, and this is protected by the Orc Biggins over here, and the Black Orcs over here, tucked away in the trees, keeping them hidden so that the Wood Elves might get a little adventurous and they will get shut down very quickly. Let's take a look at the Wood Elves now. Also a very wide deployment, also very heavy on the ranged capabilities. You can see led by a Glade Lord up in the air atop the Forest Dragon, assisted by a Spellslinger of Life hovering on foot, technically speaking. Then we've got these Deepwood Scouts spread out up ahead, 4 of them, alongside the Sisters of the Thorn, 1 to the left, 1 to the right, and these guys are all protected by these Wild Riders, 1 to the left and 1 to the right. And back here, 2 units of War Dancers and a unit of Dryads as well, probably looking to push forward as soon as possible and get involved in melee engagements when the time comes after the initial skirmishing has been completed. So let's kick it into full gear here and take a look at how it all breaks down. You can see the Doomdivers are already in the air, looking to do some early damage here. A couple of them land in the Deepwood Scouts, do a touch of damage, and then immediately focusing on the Sisters of the Thorn instead. You can see these shots are going through, looking to do a little bit of hurt, and I'm not sure if these were manually fired or not, but good target selection there, and you can see at the same time good target selection from the Wood Elves as well, just focusing in on the Night Goblin War Boss. But look at that excellent response, popping the Spite of the Bad Moon just as those first few arrows are coming in, actually getting 103% missile parry. Gold shields on the armor there, wonderfully done. It's nice to see such quick reaction times there, so great job there. And you can see over here now, attention has shifted as Mogreb's Mangy Marauders are peeling in ever closer. They are very threatening, of course, alongside all of these chariots that are following through as well. So opening some shots off over here, instead trying to get some damage in before they're able to close the gap, open shots or get any charges in, that'll be extremely threatening as well. Of course, you can see taking a fair bit of damage, ultimately deciding to pull back into safety. These guys are a very valuable unit, and the Wolf Chariots instead now pushing in with some serious aggression. Great call there again. If they can get some charges into these Deepwood Scouts, they can absolutely devastate them, ruin their day. But you can see as these guys fall back, the Wild Riders are pushing forward alongside the Sisters of the Thorn as well, and as you can see, the Curse of Anrayer goes down as well, reducing melee attack and accuracy, but also reducing speed, giving these Wild Riders a great chance to close the gap and cause a fair bit of damage as these Wolf Chariots turn around and peel back into safety, because they can obviously fall back within range of the Rusty Errors and the Night Goblin Archers. So very cleverly done there, hoping to shut these, well, this entire contingent down nice and early in this battle. And you can see some shots going back and forth still. The Doomdiver Catapult continuing to fire away. These Doomdivers are hoping to do a fair bit of damage, and a great pick with the Doomdiver as well, because it can actually home into its targets, and you can see some great hits landing over here, doing a fair bit of damage into this little clump that's formed up over here. So wonderfully picked there. Wonderful target selection as well. And you can see to the right over here now, as the Forest Dragon is trying to close the gap, the Glade Lord I should say is trying to close the gap, we have all of these guys opening shots as well, getting a touch of damage in, while these guys are instead deciding to peel back into safety. And you can see here the Glade Lord trying to close the gap, trying to dive in and get some work done, while off to the side over here, again, beautiful work between the Moon Howlers and the Teeth Robbers, closing the gap on these Deepwood Scouts over here. You'll have a moments ago screen up on the left, I think, right now. Just seeing these charges go down, absolutely destroying the Deepwood Scouts. They're wavering already. They've dropped to about 50% health, so beautiful work over there. And you can see these Wolf Chariots still pulling back into safety, turning around now, opening shots off, trying to take care of that Glade Lord, while over here these Forest Goblin Spider Riders are being hunted by these Wild Riders. And you can see we have the Warlord's Boys and the 8 Peak Loonies closing their gaps over here, trying to take care of the Wild Riders, while the Rusty Errors and the Night Goblin Archers are hoping to get some shots in as well. Over here, the Wild Riders do get hit by Itchy Nuisance, just hoping to keep these Forest Goblin Spider Riders alive, but unfortunately they do rout more or less instantaneously, so they have to fall back while the 8-Peak Loonies and the Warlord's Boys are closing their gaps. Meanwhile, over here, you can see these guys are safely pulling away as they have been hit by the Curse of Anrier, again slowing them down as the Wild Riders and the Sisters of the Thorn are giving chase. And over here, back on the left, you can see some great charges coming in from the Goblin Wolf Chariots, just absolutely tossing these Deepwood Scouts about. Wonderful work there, excellent micromanagement, and you can see the Sisters of the Thorn pushing in for some melee engagements alongside the Forest Dragon, at the same time the Glade Lord again, I should say, and then these guys are pulling back into safety. These Goblin Wolf Chariots, nicely done there, reacting immediately. Unfortunately, one has been hit by Terror and is now routing. You can see these Wild Riders over here, again, pulling back into safety away from the 8-Peak Loonies and the Warlord's Boys. Over here, at the same time, we've got the Teeth Robbers pulling back into safety from these Wild Riders, and you can see we've got all of these guys focusing now instead on the Wild Riders and the Sisters of the Thorn over here as the Teeth Robbers desperately try to get away. At the same time, we have the Doomdiver Catapult firing away at this unit now instead. Just another unit of Deepwood Scouts to cause some harm to, again, great thinking, cycling some targets, hoping to get some damage done to these various ranged units from the Wood Elves. You can see that one guy, a direct hit there, it looks like, absolutely splattering into 1,000 pieces there, and the Deepwood Scouts are having a tough time. Obviously, they have to dodge, but the Doomdiver Catapult, again, can home into its targets. To the left over here, meanwhile, you can see these Deepwood Scouts as well being chased by the Warlord's Boys and the 8-Peak Loonies as well at the same time. Again, just trying to prevent them from firing away, take care of range capabilities nice and early, and eliminate the strength of the Wood Elves. You can see these Deepwood Scouts now focusing in on the Goblin Wolf Chariot over here, and these guys are pulling back as they notice at least the Goblin Big Boss here coming closer, and aware now that there are the Rusty Arrows and the Night Goblin Archers over here, so needing to be a bit more careful. The Sisters of the Thorn exploring a little bit, pushing and prodding, while back here you can see these Deepwood Scouts are made to completely rout, and a breath from the Glade Lord over here, unfortunately not doing enough damage. I think aiming towards the 8-Peak Loonies over there, and just did barely any damage, unfortunately. So a bad call over there. Might have been better to use it elsewhere where some of these units are actually lined up. Of course, unfortunately, because of stalking, these guys are actually invisible, and back here, these Orc Biggins and the Black Orcs still hidden. These Orc Biggins have peeled out now, just getting activated, so to speak, to push in towards some of these guys as they were creeping ever closer, but ultimately unnecessary as these guys are falling back. But you can see the Goblin Big Boss over here maybe getting a little bit too adventurous. Chasing after these guys is now going to be the focus of a lot of range fire, and if these guys turn around and focus in on the Goblin Big Boss, the Big Boss will be completely devastated. At the same time, you can see we do have these War Dancers creeping through the trees alongside the Dryads. These War Dancers have been spotted now, so the Greenskins will be able to respond to that imminent threat. You can see, though, the 8-Peak Loonies in a bit of a tight spot here as the Wild Riders got a good charge in there. The Forest Goblin Spider Riders moving in alongside some of these Goblin Wolf Chariots, hoping to get some work done with range fire and some melee support as well. You can see the Warlord's Boys, though, in a terrible spot as those War Dancers come charging through. Excellent work there by the Wood Elves, making sure those guys are eliminated and taken off the field right away. You can see the Goblin Big Boss has, in fact, been entangled by the Wild Riders in a terrible situation, dropped to about 50% health more or less instantaneously. Morale dropped as well, and is now routing while all of these Deepwood Scouts are firing away at the Teeth Robbers over here, who are pushing in to collect some teeth from these poor, unfortunate Deepwood Scouts. Take a look at this beautiful rear charge, just right through the trees over there, getting a lot of damage in, getting these guys to just fly a little bit. Morale drops, these guys start to waver, start to rout, and the Teeth Robbers turn around and leave. At the same time over here, you can see the 8-Peak Loonies as well as the Warlord's Boys, or the Warlord's Boys, I should say, in a terrible situation. Of course, the 8-Peak Loonies are unbreakable, so they're going to stick and fight. But of course, against some War Dancers and the Forest Dragon as well of the Glade Lord, neither of these infantry units stand much of a chance from the goblins, but the Doomdiver Catapult is coming in for some assistance, so some long-range goblins coming in this massive clump over here. Excellent work there again. I think maybe trying to bait that clump and sending in those Doomdivers. You'll see them flying through in just a moment's time, causing a fair bit of damage, and at the same time, we have the Prey of Anathrema going down on the Night Goblin Warboss, just hoping to hold the Night Goblin Warboss in place as these guys all push through to give chase, and you can see the first of the Doomdivers arrive, a couple more on their way as well. You can see them just soaring through the air right now, hoping to rescue some of their goblin buddies, I suppose, while over here you can see a little bit of reforming happening as it looks like the Goblin Big Boss there does completely shatter, is still under fire, so a few wasted arrows there, but the Goblin Big Boss has left the building. You can see the rest of the Greenskin army here now repositioning itself, focusing in on these Deepwood Scouts to the right there, as the entire melee contingent of the Wood Elves is over here on the left, and you can see the Glade Lord there diving in on the Night Goblin Warboss, doing a fair bit of morale damage, not too much physical damage, and in comes some more Doomdivers as well, causing some some decent hurt to the Wild Riders and the War Dancers in this massive clump. You can see Tormentor Sword does go down, trying to keep all these guys locked in place so that the Doom Diver can get more work done, and you can see back here as well, these 8 Peak Loonies are still being fired upon by some of those Deepwood Scouts. Over here, meanwhile, you can see the Forest Goblin Spider Rider is the focus of some attention from these Deepwood Scouts to the right over here, while the Rusty Arrows and the Night Goblin Archers over here have turned their attention to this giant clump. Again, great call, massive clump here, so any missed shots will also cause a fair bit of damage, hoping to get rid of these extremely threatening War Dancers and the Sisters of the Thorn as well. In fact, everything in this clump is absolutely threatening, so good call over there as all of those arrows fly through the air. You can see the Glade Lord responding, trying to close the gap over here, I think, to cause a little bit of damage if possible, and you can see we actually have Itchy Nuisance going down, trying to reduce the melee attack capabilities, while all of these guys, the Goblin Tide, so to speak, is coming in, opening some shots at the Glade Lord, but ultimately trying to charge into these War Dancers and free up the Night Goblin War Boss. So take a look at these beautiful charges over here, and the amount of damage being done here is absolutely magnificent. So again, great vision, great battlefield awareness from the Gobble King over here, just driving these guys right through the War Dancers, reducing their morale significantly. Even these Wild Riders that obviously aren't being thrown in the air are taking a lot of damage from the charge, specifically to their morale. So great call there, freeing up the Night Goblin War Boss and scaring a lot of these units out. And at the same time, you can see we actually have some of these Fanatics being tossed as well, so coming in with some serious damage and pushing in for some rear charges as well. The 8 Peak Loonies, so wonderfully done there, and take a look at that clump absolutely fall apart as another breath comes in from the Glade Lord's Forest Dragon, but does next to nothing. An unfortunate targeting situation there, I think. Doesn't do too much work, and the Wood Elves have lost that left flank. Beautiful work there as these Orc Biggins as well as the Black Orcs move in as well. And you can see the Orc Biggins over here as well pushing in as these Wild Riders are about to get a nice charge into the Night Goblin Archers over here and then chase after the Rusty Arrows. The Rusty Arrows, though, turn around, try to get away from this very threatening situation, but maybe just a little bit too late there. Unfortunately, though, for the Wild Riders, there are a lot of range units in the area. That plus 22% missile resistance from the Shield of Thorns is going to help them out, but not all that much, to be perfectly honest, given the sheer quantity of range fire coming in. And we also have the Orc Biggins coming in. They are anti-large, of course, so as these Night Goblin Archers give up on the fight, these Orc Biggins are coming in to the rescue. Meanwhile, these Moon Howlers have been taken care of with the sheer quantity of range fire once again, while the Goblin Wolf Chariot over here trying to keep a safe distance from the Glade Lord, but you can see that Glade Lord is extremely hungry, diving in, hoping to take care of the Goblin Wolf Chariot, while over here you can see, again, the Orc Biggins decided to dive into the Sisters of the Thorn, as well as the Wild Riders doing a lot of work there. These guys are giving up on the fight, while the Doom Divers continue to fire away. The Doom Diver is just not being taken care of, and you can see an open avenue over here. These Wild Riders should have been sent in to chase after the Doom Diver catapult and cause, well, get rid of the unit. 88 kills on artillery. Absolutely ludicrous. You can see the War Dancers at the same time, though, on their way back now, not really willing to fight anymore, while in the center over here you can see we do have once again the Spite of the Bad Moon going down, as the Goblin War Boss is an ideal target. All that range fire coming in as well, trying to cause some hurt, I think, to these Death Creepers over here, but again, they are under the influence of Spite of the Bad Moon, so trying to provide a little bit of assistance here and there, while you can see this Chariot is now chasing after some of these Deepwood Scouts, so great call over there. And you can see the Spellslinger using Regrowth to try and keep the Glade Lord alive. Leadership is extremely important right now, especially with all the threatening range support that is nearby right now. Unfortunately, the Wolf Chariot over here made to retreat before it's actually able to close the gap, and good work here by the Deepwood Scouts, just focusing in on various units, trying to hold these guys in place with the Prey of Anathrema, and then focusing in with that range fire to get rid of these various chariots. But you can see here quite confidently the rest of the Greenskin army is pushing in. These Orc Biggins, the Black Orcs over here, they've taken barely any damage. These Orc Biggins as well, they've taken barely any damage from the engagements they've been in, and the Wood Elves are in a terrible spot. The balance of power is just barely in favor of the Greenskins, though, so it could still flip around and go the other way. You can see on the left over here, the Teeth Robbers looking, I think, to take care of the War Dancers over here. Some good micromanagement there will do the trick. And over here you can see these Goblin Wolf Chariots still trying to give chase here, unfortunately slowly being made to rout as all that range fire comes in. But you can see in response we've got the Death Creepers here, as well as the Mogram's Mangy Marauders firing into the Spellslinger of Life, trying to get rid of that magical support, while the Glade Lord at 25% less health now. So very good job with the regrowth, looking for an opportunity to dive in. But of course everything is a little risky here. The Orc Biggins, all of that range fire coming in as well, trying to take care, I think, of the 8 Peak Loonies, but a dangerous situation there as the Orc Biggins are, again, anti-large, and in comes all that range support as well. Meanwhile, up front over here, you can see we have Tormentor Sword going down so that the Night Goblin War Boss can close the gap into the Spellslinger of Life, as well as the Deepwood Scouts. And here comes another Chariot unit pushing in from the side, again, just hoping to take care of all of these ranged units, pulling back into the forest, which is a good move for the Wood Elves, of course, for multiple reasons. Apart from it being their home, it also provides them some protection from the large units that are giving chase, such as these Chariots, hoping to slow them down, gain the advantage, and pull back to the other side, perhaps, or at least cause a little bit of disruption disruption to their charging lines and slow down the effectiveness of those charges. You can see the Glade Lord back here, meanwhile, taking to the air, pulling back into some safety, while the Orc Biggins over here continue to push in to the trees, I think, trying to provide some support. In comes Wah as well, and another breath attack. This one actually a little effective there, causing a fair bit of morale damage, but it's far too little, far too late, really, at this point for the Wood Elves, it feels like, as all of these guys are beating the retreat. They're falling back. The Wild Riders, you can see as well, very low on morale, and there's the rout over there. Over here, we do have some more Itchy Nuisance going down, just trying to provide a little bit of assistance to these Orc Biggins, I think, in reducing how capable the Spellsinger of Life is, and the Deepwood Scouts as well. Not very capable, of course, but, you know, every little bit helps when you've got the spare Winds of Magic, I think. And back here, that Thief Robber unit still just ping-ponging back and forth. And take a look at the shatters among the Deepwood Scouts as well as the War Dancers over here, caused entirely, I think, by the Thief Robbers coming in at the end, of course. In the center here, though, you can see the Forest Dragon getting a little bit of work done using Shield of Thorns from the Spellsinger here, trying to keep these guys alive and fighting, but you can see some terror is kicking in. These Orc Biggins are in a bit of a tight spot. They are pulling back into safety, I think, but the Spellsinger is in a terrible situation, and all of these ranged units just making sure that the Glade Lord has to stay on her toes, getting all of that fire in, gets a nice rear charge into these Orc Biggins, but of course, with all that range fire coming in, the Black Orcs diving in as well, and 2 units of Orc Biggins, the Glade Lord has put herself in a bit of a tight spot, and you can see we have another cast going on in the center over here. Spite of the Bad Moon going down. Again, just trying to provide some assistance, I think, but more importantly, Get Back here went down just to make sure these guys didn't start giving up right at the death. The Glade Lord, again, in a terrible situation. The Spellsinger of Life almost taken care of back there, keeping herself alive using magic, but being chased down by the Night Goblin War Boss in a terrible spot. And over here, you can see some of these Sisters of the Thorn now being picked off by that range fire coming in as they charge into these Death Creepers, and we also have the Orc Biggins pulling in for a nice rear charge into those Sisters of the Thorn. The Glade Lord now able to dive into the Rusty Errors, but again, there's so much fire coming in from so many directions. The Glade Lord is not safe no matter where she goes. And over here, we have the Doomdiver Catapult actually diving into melee now, these guys, as they got 114 kills, and I think they cleared up all of their ammunition as well. The Glade Lord, again, in a very dangerous situation, needs to take to the air if she intends to stay safe, but not over there because there's so much range support coming in. Manages to actually scare off the Rusty Errors, but that's just not enough. Back here, you can see the Spellsinger has given up on the fight. We have these Deepwood Scouts routing and shattering as well. The Dryads now shattering, everything shattering, and a Pyrrhic victory for the Greenskins. Some impeccable micromanagement from a very interesting Greenskin army meant the Wood Elves were simply unable to play to their strengths. Constantly hounded by cavalry or chariots with an endless stream of Doomdivers, the Wood Elves were constantly on the back foot. They really needed to peel the goblins apart to come out on top here, and they had to find a way to shut down the artillery. Failing both of those objectives, the Wood Elves got a taste of their own medicine. As always, make sure you subscribe to this channel for more Total War content and keep sending in those battle replays. I do think it's one of the best ways to learn, and it's always nice to highlight such amazing battles from the community. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the battlefield.